Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship here with another video. So, have you ever heard of the website or app called Loom? It's basically a video sharing app uh, worth a gajillion dollars, and one of the founders of Loom um, says he's worth 50 million and has no idea what to do with his life, right? So, we're going to react to a little bit to this and also his vlog. Um, that he has, and this is 50 minutes long, so we're not going to watch the whole thing. So we're just going to watch a little bit and then read his vlog and see what's up.
Well, I left 60 on the table. I have no income right now. I'm looking for internships. How much of my very strong...
You know what's crazy? Now that he just said that, I really think internships is probably a better fit for CEOs because it's like, hey, I did this thing called Loom. Maybe I want to study food or agriculture. I should do like a food and agriculture internship, right? Now that I think about it, internships probably shouldn't be for college students. It should be for like CEOs. I'll probably post ads like, I need an intern CEO for doing sales and marketing. You know? Anyways, let's keep watching.
Emotional reactions are due to me putting so much life on hold.
I've got this buddy named Vinay, and he started and sold a company called Loom and made something like $50 to $70 million while he was still in his early 30s. And he actually could have made a whole lot more money, around $60 million in additional money had he stayed for an earnout. But he decided to walk away and he'd leave that extra money on the table. And recently, he kind of had a personal identity crisis, and he wrote this blog post that was beautifully titled, and it went viral and it got my attention. And the blog post was titled, "I am rich and I have no idea what to do with my life." A perfect blog post to talk about on MoneyWise. And so I wanted him to come on and talk about what it was like growing up in a small Midwestern farm town, being basically the only brown kid, to being in New York and having a huge budget, an unlimited budget, being...
Isn't that how, what's his face? Vivek? What was his name? I can't remember his last name. Vivek? Like, he grew up in like Ohio, right? Ramaswamy? Wow, maybe I need to do that. Maybe I needed to grow up in a Midwestern town in a farm and be the only like Asian kid there. And that's how you become a billionaire. But anyways, let's keep watching.
incredibly wealthy at a very young age. And I wanted him to talk all about that on this episode of MoneyWise.
Okay, so let me see. Where does the actual interview start? Right here. So let's just watch a little bit of it.
You're like worth, I don't know, 9 figures or something on paper.
We're worth less than that for sure. You know, decidedly. I think it had gotten to a point where like the band of illusionment had like been pulled off for everybody, and they're like, we're not worth, you know, $1.5 billion. And so the answer was that we were worth $975 million, which is what we sold for. Couldn't get to the billion number, you know, even then.
What did you walk away with?
I walked away with a lot.
What happens when a superhero comic book...
Tens of millions of dollars.
Closer to 100 or closer to 30?
Okay, it's like in between that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Enough forever.
Enough for forever for my kids and all that stuff. And like...
And that's post-tax.
That's post-tax.
So let's say around $50 to $70 million, which at that point, the difference doesn't really mean that much. But he could have made another $60 million had he just stuck around for a little bit longer. Instead, he said no, and he walked away.
I was really struggling with this decision.
And this all comes back to the self-reckoning the exit triggered. We're going to get to the details of that decision, how he made it, and whether he regrets it or not. But first, to understand why Vinay could have even considered turning down $60 million, we have to understand how he got there in the first place. That starts in a tiny town in Illinois.
Growing up in the middle of nowhere was an interesting way to grow up.
Yeah, particularly as a brown kid. I mean, when I think Illinois, I think everyone looks like me.
For sure. I mean, like, and Huntley's is an interesting place. I haven't been back there, and I honestly don't plan on going back. But, you know, there were, like, kids who had, like, Confederate flags on their trucks and
That's
all this.
fucked up.
In Illinois?
Yeah.
Interesting. You would think, like, why Illinois?
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, I don't blame you for not wanting to go back. You took school seriously and dropped out, right? Is that like that's like the most badass way to take it seriously?
Yeah, I guess I've always taken my education seriously, which is like...
Of course, it's in your blood.
Yeah, higher math, Indian,
Yeah.
like really in high school, I didn't really care about my grades. Actually, there was a period where I thought I was going to go to the Air Force. And there was like this moment that felt very dramatic to me as like a high schooler, which is just like comical and feels very cliche as a high schooler now, where I had like a falling out with my friends. I was the popular kid's bitch. That was essentially my role up until like freshman year of high school. And I had this falling out with like these two of my friends who like went to this party and they like lied to me and his like phone picked up and I could hear him at this party.
Your friends were cheating on you.
My friends were cheating on me. And I felt so bad. But honestly, it was like a good wake-up call. And kind of through this, teenage angst and depression,
You know what's really weird? He kind of sounds like he has that stereotypical Valley, California voice. Whatever. Which is weird because I'm from Southern California and I don't think I have that voice. But all right, I mean, I think this is interesting. I actually kind of watched the whole thing, but I don't want to bore you all. But let's just read his blog because it's very interesting. I like how he put Hawaii. Like, I want to let you know I'm rich. I'm kind of semi-depressed, and I live in Hawaii, or I'm writing this from Hawaii. All right, life has been a haze this last year. After selling my company, I find myself in the totally unrelatable position of never having to work again. Everything feels like a side quest, but not in an inspiring way. I don't have the same base desires driving me to make money or gain status. I have infinite freedom, yet I don't know what to do with it. And honestly, I'm not the most optimistic about life. Rich people problems. Am I right, boys and girls? I know this is a completely zero with the world position to be in. The point of this post isn't to brag or gain sympathy. To be honest, I don't know exactly what the point of the post is. I tried to manufacture one, but I just felt like phony. Then I recognized the irony of creating purpose out of a blog post when I don't have much conviction or purpose in life. So I'll just go ahead and explain my current situation for my own selfish purposes to push myself to be completely and awkwardly vulnerable to a blob of nameless strangers, and that includes me, over the internet. No expectation of what comes of it. And it's funny because money is kind of like it is kind of like a video game. Like, have you ever played like a Final Fantasy game or like some sort of a game where like you start out and then there's like a money system and then you don't get that much money in the beginning and at the end like you have so much money that you don't even end up spending it. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like you could buy anything you want in the game, but because you have so much, it's like, oh, whatever. Like, I can still beat the game without buying more things. That's what it feels like to have a lot of money. All right, going to the Redwoods and giving up 60 million. Last March, I had no idea what to do with my life. I knew that staying at the acquiring company was not it for me for big company reasons you might suspect. Lots of politics, things move slowly, NPC coworkers. I like how he just called his coworkers NPCs. Is like, yeah, I don't think you're. And if you don't know what NPC is, it means non-playable character. So if you ever play a video game and then there's like characters you have to talk to complete your side quests, but who don't really think, that's what NPC is. Oh, that's bad. Oh no, NPC coworkers. But I found it very hard to give up a 60 million pay package. I had already made more money than I knew what to do with, but your mind does funny things when you start to consider numbers like this. So I decided to go to Redwoods and figure it out. Within 5 minutes of my first hike, the trees smiled at me, whispered their simple wisdom. What's the point of money if not for freedom? And what's your most secure resource if not time? I will leave to do something, anything to be alive again. And I had no idea, but I was hell bent on making sure everyone knew I had it all figured out of ego, out of fear of wading into the unknown. When you work on something that consumes your life for a decade, it's hard to let go of the uncertainty and purpose you've grown accustomed to. Robotics or my cringe trying to be Elon phase. All right, well, I don't blame you. Maybe that's what, when you make a successful exit, that's what you think the next step is. I don't know if it's cringe, but I know as a person, I have no interest in robotics. It's like one of those things, hamburger or a robot can serve your meal. Like, yeah, who cares? I mean, it's probably going to come in the next 10 years or so, but I really don't care. All right, the immediate 2 weeks after leaving an intense 10-year journey, I did what any healthy person does and met with over 70 investors and founders in robotics. I had been learning about robotics for quite some time, and was positive I wanted to throw myself into giving computers arms and legs. I'd come up with all the taglines to delude myself to thinking this is my life's calling. Everything had been leading to this exact point. The world is going through a major labor shortage. We must stay competitive against China. You know who says that? Alexander Wang, the guy who is responsible for that really huge AI company. Uh, so China AI, and then he's been talking about warning about how there's an AI war, and yeah, U.S. China AI race. So he's kind of been on that train. Interesting. All right. The market for highly repetitive labor is multiple trillions of dollars, and at the end of 2 weeks, I felt feeling deflated and foolish. I didn't want to start a robotics company. The only thing I wanted to seem too interesting to me was humanoids. It started to dawn on me what I actually was to look like Elon, and that is incredibly cringe. It hurts to even type this out. Breaking up with my girlfriend, realized I'm very insecure. After deciding to not start a robotics company, I found myself rudderless, no sense of direction. I traveled to many beautiful places with my loving and supportive ex girlfriend. This 6 month stretch could be several essays on its own, but the outcome of this period that nothing seemed right. We started getting into regular arguments, and I knew it was on her. It was me. I was starting to come to terms with all the mountain insecurities I had stuffed down over the past several years. I didn't feel like I could work on them with her, so I broke things off after almost 2 years of unconditional love. It was extremely painful, but it was the right call. I needed to fully face myself. I have only started to realize that Loom was in its early innings, and I felt very secure with my position in life, and lots of it stemmed from extreme gratitude for the journey I was on. So, what you can really learn from this is that the journey is way more important than the destination. I think a lot of you will if some of you have already reached the destination, you'll kind of realize the journey was just a lot more satisfying, right? And that's why he's probably saying that after his exit, he was very insecure. But during the time where he's just starting up the company and doing what he needed to do to build it, he was really excited. I felt like that too. Like sometimes there have been times in my life where I have felt really excited, and I wasn't even making that much money. And then like the more money that I made, the more was like I was just like, is this it? What's the big deal? I felt like that before. Okay. Then, as the company continues to skyrocket to new heights, I've started to growing expectations for myself, and others start to have growing expectations of me. When we went through our first round of layoffs, this company, my ego was hitching to had suffered a massive blow. I lost myself. This whole chapter of Loon had created a complex web of internalized insecurities I must now work hard to disentangle and free myself from. If my ex is reading this, thank you for everything. I'm sorry I couldn't be what you needed me to be. Climbing mountains in the Himalayas, remembering to do hard things. So after breaking up with my girlfriend, I did what any person would do, a healthy person would do, and decided to externalize my emotions by climbing a 6,800 meter peak in the Himalayas with absolutely no mountaineering experience or training. In the early stages of trekking to the valley before the altitude sickness, cold, and chronic bronchitis started to settle in, this seemed like the best idea in the world. It wasn't until every person I met along the way asked how long I'd been training for, then it started to settle in how insane what I was doing was. Needless to say, there were some rough patches. I got hypoxic on one of my summits and had to rappel down cliff faces while tripping out of my mind. In the end, I pushed through, completed my planned summits, and got reacquainted with how important doing hard things is to me. It is a heartbeat of my life, and I don't 100% understand why, but it probably has something to do with not having the best childhood. When I got home and regaled my friends with the mountain stories, my friends joked I should work for Elon Vivek at Doge and help America get off its current crash, defaulting to its own debt. So I reached out to some people and got in. After 8 calls with people who talked fast and sounded very smart, I was added to a number of signal groups and immediately put to work. Working for Doge for 4 weeks, remember the power of urgency. Within 2 minutes of talking to the final interviewer for Doge, he asked me if I wanted to join. I said yes, and he said cool, and I was in multiple signal groups. I was immediately acquainted with the software, HR, and legal teams that went from 0 to 100, taking meetings and getting stuff done. This was day before Thanksgiving. The next 4 weeks of my life consisted of hundreds of calls, recruiting the smartest people I've ever talked to, working on various projects, and I'm definitely not able to talk about learning how completely dysfunctional the government was. It was a blast. You want to know something? Okay, like, how much money did the IRS spend on Windows XP? Hold on. 24. The agency is paying less than $500,000. No, it's this one, right? This one. Update. IRS Mrs. XP deadline will spend 30 million to upgrade remaining PCs. It's crazy, right? This was 2014. They spent $30 million on Windows XP. That's crazy. I remember this story. But I don't know if there's, I'm pretty sure there's like other things that are way beyond that, but I remember when I read that I was like, what the F, right? All right. I learned about the power of urgency and having an undeniable mission. Not by reading it somewhere, by experiencing it, I came to realize how laughable my robotics had been in comparison. Um, right? Hold on. And I started to realize, although the mission of Doge is extremely important, it wasn't the most important thing I need to focus on with urgency for myself. I need to get back with him to ambiguity, focus on my insecurities, and be okay with that for a while. Doge wasn't going to fix that. So after 4 intense and intoxicating weeks, I called off my plans to move to DC, embark on a journey to save the government, and I just booked a one-way ticket to Hawaii. Studying physics in the jungle, focusing on my insecurities. So now I'm in Hawaii learning physics. Why? The reason I tell myself is to build my first principles foundation so I can start a company that manufactures real world things. I mean, that's kind of different from software, right? Because the whole point of software is just you're just creating programs. But maybe he wants, I don't know if he would do hardware, but maybe he just wants to create actual products instead of service, right? So that's the goal in itself. At least nothing that's okay. If it means I'll never do anything spectacular as Loom, so be it. It's been too long since I've been completely raw and real with myself, so I'm applying a healthy dose of humility to everything I say and do. It's the only real thing that feels authentic. However, there are some questions left unanswered. Do I need to be the absolute most to reach this point? Why can't I just leave Loom and say I don't know what to do next? Why do I feel the need to be only on a journey if it's grand? What is wrong with being insignificant? Why is letting people down so hard? I don't know, but I'm going to find out, right? So this is why, like, when I tell you that when you make a lot of money, your problems don't stop. You just kind of upgrade to rich people problems. And then once you get there, you're like, dang, like, now I know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, money doesn't, after like 50 to $80,000 having like food and shelter, probably like $100,000 these days, um, you don't really, it's not really, how do I say this? uh, it's not really a bed of roses because the problems in life are still there, right? Now, obviously, money is a tool to help you solve your problems, but it doesn't solve problems by itself, right? All right, well, that's it for today, folks. Korean Lanta Mentorship reacting to the Loom founder. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.